Hi there, my name is Dr. Katie Saint, and this video is on reducing problem behavior with how we give instruction. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will jump in. All right. So when we are giving instruction, one of the most important things is to be clear and concise. So a lot of times when we give instructions, we like to be very wordy. We like to explain a ton of things and talk a lot. But a lot of times, if we use too many words, it gets lost. And sometimes it increases anxiety, it increases frustration. So, especially if you have a child who is already escalated and not in a calm state, we want to be short and to the point. Please sit down. Please do your homework. It is time to come eat. Very short sentences, direct and to the point. This is going to work better than if you're wordy and if you're just adding a bunch of stuff in. So, the other thing to focus on with this point as well is telling people what we want them to do rather than what we don't want them to do. So, for whatever reasons, our brain does not process the word not or don't do that, it makes us think about that thing more. So if I tell you, don't think about elephants, it makes you think about elephants when you weren't even thinking about elephants before. So we want to tell kids what we want them to do instead. So instead of don't hit your brother, we want to say, play nicely with your brother, share your toys. We want to tell them directly what we want them to do instead. All right, let's move to the next point, which is making the start and the finish clear. So, a lot of our kiddos are planners. They like to know what's expected, they like to know how long it'll take, and they create expectations in their head of how long things should take. And so, if that changes on them, it might lead to frustration and it might lead to problem behaviors. So we want to make the start and the end time super clear for them. If we do this consistently, this will help with their follow through and their compliance, and this will help reduce their anxiety. This will make expectations more clear. So that means that we're not adding in like, okay, just do one more, or yeah, I'll be done in a little bit. And then you talk for another 10, 15 more minutes. So we want to be really clear and stick to it. When we say something is going to take 5 minutes, or if we want them to do one more math problem, we're going to stick to that and we're not going to give them a second or a third math problem, or we're not going to extend that by a few more minutes. So we want that to be really clear and really consistent. Next, timers. Timers can be a fantastic aid to make things more clear, to reduce anxiety, and set expectations. So there are a lot of really cool visual timers. One of my favorites is red. And so as the time stops, more and more red fills up until there's just none left. And so then they know time's up. We now have tons of timers and apps and things like that on our phones that we can use, or iPads, tablets. And so just giving our kids these timers sometimes can really reduce problem behaviors because it's super clear. And then it also makes the timer the bad guy instead of you. So when the timer's up, oh man, your time's up. Time to be done with that. Let's go do this. And then we want to transition them to something positive. So when a timer's up, what we can do as well is word things in the positive rather than the negative. So let's say they're transitioning off of video games to dinner. So we would want to say, it's time to come eat. This is mac and cheese. You love that. So you're giving them something to look forward to rather than just pointing out, hey, you have to stop doing that thing that you like to do. So next, visuals. Visuals can be really, really helpful. And for our kids who are a little bit more argumentative, a visual can cause less arguments than verbal instructions from an adult. So, a lot of our kiddos have visuals in their bathrooms of their brushing teeth routine, bathroom routine, shower routine. A lot of our kids have morning routines that they check off, or they even use it during therapy as a schedule that they have a visual that they're following for that. So you can use a visual in whatever way you want. It can be a bedtime routine, an after school routine. You can map out your Saturday and make a visual of it as well to help structure their time. So visuals can be used in all sorts of ways. You can take pictures of their bedroom when it's clean, and then that visual can be the standard for it's time to clean your room and I want it to look like this. If it doesn't look like this, then it's not done. So again, that takes out the argument of, well, I think it's clean enough, you should too. If you have that visual, then it removes the ability to argue. So next, we're moving to first then. So if you word things like first you need to brush your teeth, then you can use your iPad, it makes the expectations really clear. And you have a natural motivator in place where they understand I have to do my work first and then I can move on to my fun things. So using first then, whether it's a visual first then where you have it on a laminated piece of paper that you Velcro the activities to, or you just verbally say it, that can be a really good strategy to help kids comply easier. Lastly, consistency. All of these things will be less effective if your rules are always changing. So, consistency is one of the best things you can do to reduce anxiety in your child and to help your child understand the rules and expectations. All people like predictability, but especially people with autism. So, if your rules are consistent, they're more likely to follow them, they're less likely to resist them and fight you on it because it's just become the norm and people take comfort in routine. So definitely pick what rules you want to be consistent with and stick with them. Make sure everybody in that child's life is following the same rules because that's going to make that child's life easier. They're going to be less anxious. They're going to behave better because expectations are the same across the board. So now let's move to some reflection. Think about your recent week or maybe 2 weeks. Where have you given really clear instructions? Where have you done a really good job of following these principles that we've talked about? So just reflect on just a few examples that you can think of where you did a good job with this. Then I want you to move to thinking about some times when you maybe weren't as clear. Maybe you gave some abstract instructions that weren't super clear, like eat healthier or be nice. Sometimes these are so general, people don't know how to follow them. So try and think of some examples where this is a way you could maybe improve that. Okay, yeah, last Monday, I wasn't super clear when I told my son to do XYZ. Then I want you to think about 5 rules that you would like your child to follow that maybe they're struggling with right now. So try and come up with 5 of them and then just write it down on a piece of paper how often they follow through with those rules. So some examples could be when I tell them to turn off video games, they turn them off right away. When I tell them to come eat, they come and eat. When I tell them to get dressed in the morning and get ready for school, they do that right away. So those are some examples of some ideas you might want to use. So just rate how consistent they are with following through with that. They follow through all the time, they follow through 50% of the time, or maybe they don't follow through barely at all. Then I want you to commit to following the principles that we just talked about in this video for 2 weeks. I want you to try really, really hard to be consistent and follow through with these principles for 2 straight weeks. And then I want you to rate how well they're following these rules. Notice if there's any difference. Did they improve it? Are they following through better? Typically, the science of behavior has shown us that if we follow these rules, we're going to get really good results. So go ahead and consult with your team, have them support you, have every adult in your child's life try and follow these rules as well to increase that compliance and follow through and reduce those problem behaviors. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening, and reach out if you have any questions.